Hi, my name is Travis Lindsay. I'm here for the Center for Entrepreneurship at Cal State Fullerton, and with me today is Adam Levoy. Adam, can you please introduce yourself? Let everybody know who you are and what you've been up to.
Sure thing. Well, it's great to be here, Travis. Hey, everybody. My name is Adam Levoy. I am an entrepreneur. I run a few direct-to-consumer brands and a growth marketing agency. I'm originally from Massachusetts, the South Shore, just south of Boston. And
Yeah,
I graduated.
I just watched The Town, so I'm familiar with your
Okay.
people.
Right on, right on. Well, I did drop my ass as I've been in Southern California the latter half of my life. So Um, yeah, so originally from Mass and graduated Cal State Fullerton in 2011. My background is actually in finance. I started at a private equity fund that was investing in clean technology and eventually went on to do sponsor finance at a large commercial bank. And I launched my first direct-to-consumer, my first D2C brand about 8 years ago, and have since launched a few brands since, as well as my marketing agency. And today I'm really focused on harnessing the power of generative AI for my businesses as well as for others.
Sounds good. So, if you drop any R's, that's perfectly fine. We'll leave those in, and it'll add an extra layer to the interview. So, just
Right
surprise
on,
us with
good to
that every
know.
once in a while. So speaking of generative AI, Gen AI, how do you see that changing early stage entrepreneurship, and how are founders using it to get to market faster now?
That's a really great question. So generative AI in my mind is the great equalizer. It's really lowered the barriers to entry and democratized entrepreneurship in a way that we've never seen before. Now, really, anyone with a laptop can ideate, build, test, iterate, and launch an idea with far fewer resources, far fewer team members, and a much faster timeline. Um, and so that's really powerful, and it's a really exciting time.
So expound or expand on that a little bit. So
Sure.
I'm sure that there's a lot of people who are watching this that maybe have a tab open on their computer for ChatGPT,
Mhm.
and that's part of it, right? But that's not the whole
Sure.
ecosystem, right?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So let's just say, you've got an idea for a business. You go to ChatGPT and you can ask, you have a conversation with ChatGPT. You're not just asking ChatGPT to do something for you. You're asking ChatGPT to help you think through what it is that you're trying to accomplish, right? And what's great is you can go from iterating on that idea to asking it to come up with the outline for a landing page for that idea, to further flesh out the content for that landing page, and then come up with a design and the code to launch that landing page. Meanwhile, you can ask ChatGPT to help you develop a email drip to help nurture your first few customers, right? And this is a workflow that prior to generative AI would have taken a number of different people to get involved, right? We're talking
Mhm.
copywriters, designers, web developers, maybe a co-founder, and now just really a college student with a laptop and an internet connection and a good idea and some curiosity can do this themselves. Um, and so it really is, comes down to how it, relates to entrepreneurs is a mentality, and a mentality that this is here to stay, leaning in, learning, exploring, building, and treating it like a skill, right? That can be learned and improved over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of it as a skill, I think is the right way to look at it. And it's a skill that I think that everybody who is probably below our age. I'm almost 40 now.
Hmm.
You graduated in
Ditto.
2011, so you're in your 30s, right?
That's right.
Yeah. We'll say early 30s. You look like you could pass for a 20-year-old.
I'm in
But you're
my
20.
late 30s. I'm in my late 30s. I'll
Fair
take it
enough.
though. I'll take it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And I look like I'm in my 50s, so it's just it is what it is. But it is a skill, and it's a skill that students definitely need to be learning now, but also people that are our age or older that are looking to supercharge how they do business, right?
Sure. Sure.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
so speaking of that, now that AI has, really established itself and it's available to everybody. I mean, you could get a subscription to ChatGPT or Gemini for like $20 a month,
Yeah,
and you could do quite a bit with it.
absolutely.
Everything from what you were just talking about with drip campaigns, building out business plans,
Hmm.
do consolidating research and really like pulling out some really good insights from it to helping you run your business, even crafting emails to
Yep.
potential customers.
Hmm.
So now, in your mind, what defines a startup as AI native? Is there really a distinction there? And do you think it would make sense in any situation not to be using AI for your business?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it really boils down to a mentality. An AI native business, doesn't necessarily have to be a pioneering AI model or, a pioneering AI application. It can be a business that just implements AI in a way that helps them run their business more effectively and serve their customers and provide their service more effectively. So AI native to me really is a mentality and thinking about how AI and generative AI can be incorporated into the business and really just leaning into this paradigm shift and learning, being open to learning and exploring and experimenting and building with the tools that are available. That to me is AI native, and I like to use my website adamlevoy.com as an example because I wanted something really custom. Obviously, there's a lot of content management systems out there like Squarespace and whatnot that make website building really easy. But I wanted something that really was a fun project for me, and had a flash of my character, and so I launched my website ages ago. It took me forever with my limited coding skills and copywriting and design skills and asset generation. And it took me ages. And I recently relaunched it and used a host of AI tools and assistants to help me with the design, the layout, the copywriting, the coding, for example, the image generation for blog images, helping me research my articles, helping me edit my articles. And so these are all functions again that prior to generative I would have had to worked with at least two, maybe three other team members or
Mhm.
freelancers to help me do. And now in today's day and age, we can effectively just do that myself. And it's really empowering. It's really empowering. It really opens the door for, for the idea people that didn't necessarily have some of those technical skills that they needed in the past.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've launched a couple of websites over the years, and most of them are on WordPress. And man, it took quite a long time, right?
Yeah.
You have to do a bunch of research, find stuff out, and even then, I didn't know coding, so I was doing like Code Kitty stuff, and I would find some code somewhere and put it on the website, and that would cause some other issues somewhere else, and it was a whole process, and sure, I could have hired others to help with that and do it, but I kind of wanted to get my hands dirty and try to figure it out myself as much as possible. But yeah, now not so much. You could go to ChatGPT and say, "Hey, here's the issue with my code. What do you think the solutions are?" And
Exactly.
yeah, you could really ramp up stuff really quick. So we've talked a little bit about ChatGPT. What are some other tools that founders should be aware of and potentially using right now?
Yeah, sure. Well, so everyone's familiar with ChatGPT. Claude is a competing model that's was pioneered by Anthropic. I use both. I go to them for different things. ChatGPT is definitely more flexible. It's multimodal, so you can do image generation, for example. Claude, I often will go to Claude to create prompts this is called meta prompting,
Mhm.
right? I will prompt Claude to help me draft a prompt that will help me do something else, right? And I find Claude to be really great at that. Most of the anything coding related, I typically go to Claude. For image generation, GPT's new 4.0 model does a pretty great job, but I've become accustomed to using Midjourney. So the featured images I use on my website for my blog posts are generated from Midjourney. But again, I'll write my article and know kind of what I'm looking for, and then I'll go to either ChatGPT or Claude to help me come up with a prompt to feed to Midjourney, right? To get
Right.
that image that I'm looking for. And this notion of like collaborating with generative AI and treating it not just as a task master or as a intern, and really treating it almost like a co-founder and a collaborator, that is a key difference between, I feel like, the people that are going to win with generative AI and the people that are just using it, right? This
Right.
conversational aspect of it, right? It's not transactional, right? You really need to treat generative AI like a collaborator, not a vending machine where you just put it in and get something out. You really need to have a conversation with it. It's just as much as helping you think as it is
Mhm.
as helping you do.
Right. Yeah. The way I look at it is that it's not an easy button, right? You can't just say, "Hey, I want to create this website, create it for me," and then
Exactly.
it'll come up with something. But the more direction you can give it, the more that you can collaborate with it and iterate on what it's putting out, the better the end product will be. Because I'm sure that everybody's heard of the horror stories of the lawyer who submits a brief and it's citing cases that don't exist. And
Exactly.
yeah, absolutely, that can happen. ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, they can hallucinate. But
Yeah.
if you're putting good stuff in, if you've done some of the work and you found those cases that actually exist that are relating to the case that you're working on right now,
Yeah.
it's not going to hallucinate something in that situation, most
Yeah.
likely, right?
A few other tools I haven't mentioned yet. So I use Cursor to design and develop my website. And this is a AI powered code editor. And it may seem a little scary for some folks. I do have entry level web developer skills. I taught myself these during the pandemic, which have been very helpful in just running in an e-commerce business, being able to roll up my sleeves and kind of get in the code, figure out what's going on with the HTML, the CSS, the JavaScript. But you don't need those skills, right? Nowadays, you can, play around with Cursor and prompt Cursor to really deliver a fully functioning web application or website. So I encourage people to play around with that. 11 Labs is an interesting tool for audio, right? They're doing a really great job at voice recognition and creating voices, copying your voice. And then I also extend the tools to not just AI models or direct AI tools, but things like make.com and Zapier and N8N that allow you to stitch AI tools together to create something a little bit more robust, more like a service or a workflow, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
this notion of kind of workflows is a really hot topic when you're you're using tools like N8N, Make, Zapier to stitch together different LLM calls and services to create something really cool.
Yeah, I think that there's like an alchemy that's at work there, because like Zapier and the other one that you mentioned, what was it called?
Yeah, make an N8N.
Make an NAM.
Yeah, N8N.
Those NAM. Okay. Those are more like productivity tools, right? I mean,
Yeah,
so
you can
yeah,
look at them like that, like or like an automation tool, right?
right. Yeah.
So
Yes.
before it was like, you'd set up a Zap that's like every time I get a, product a customer review, email that customer with the coupon code, or send it to Slack to my customer service team to review it and make sure that it's a good review, or if it's not, do something else. And so now what we're seeing is that same workflow and automation, but you're able to inject AI into that workflow. So instead of just sending the review to a Slack channel, you're generating a response that may be based on information and knowledge base from the product catalog or previous conversations with that customer. And it's really just, enriching and empowering the workflows that you're already doing.
Yeah. So it's like an amalgamation of productivity or automation with creativity.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, that's something that is especially important for people who are, just getting started, solo
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs, or people that have small teams, limited resources. So you're right. Yeah. I mean, you could do a heck of a lot more. And guess what? Your competitors are definitely going to do it, at least the ones that are going to win. So you kind of need to start learning this stuff now, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that's where I think a lot of people are, concerned right now. And there certainly is cause for concern. But, now's not the time to throw up your hands and say, AI is going to take my job. Now's the time to lean in and say, I need to learn this and I need to learn by doing, right?
Right.
And it's just like, I take like accountants, for example, prior to calculators, prior to Microsoft Excel, right? There were a lot of accountants just, doing the math by hand. And then these amazing tools came out, and the tools didn't replace them, but the people that learned how to use them replaced the people that didn't, right?
Right.
And as
Yeah.
a result, they were able to do their job much, much better.
Yeah, and I think that that's a really good insight. So it's not that you don't have to do anything or that you're gonna get replaced by AI. It's just gonna make what you do that much more valuable.
That's right.
If you could learn how to use it, leverage it to create new things. I mean, I love going onto Google Sheets, and with Gemini, it could help you set up the data that you're working with in an easy to review table, and it could help you figure out which equations to use. That sort of stuff. So it helps people who uh, maybe don't or aren't an expert in it, but it also makes the people who are experts in it just so much more better, right?
That's right. Yeah, and the good news is that because generative AI is such a generational disruption, unlike anything we've seen since the information age or the industrial revolution, it really is resetting everyone to zero, right? It's no one's behind yet, right? We're all starting from square one, right? And so now is the time, like I said, just to lean in and start learning, embrace this, and learn by doing. And you don't have to create the next big thing. Just work with the tools that are already out there and find ways, be creative, experiment, break things. Try and figure out ways in your life, even if it's just a side project. It doesn't have to be professional. Figure out ways, to incorporate some of this stuff and learn by doing.
Yeah. While you were talking, it immediately made me think of like a minimum viable product,
Mm-hmm.
MVP in entrepreneurship parlance. So it's something that people watching this are probably familiar with. It's create something that is, good enough. It has some basic features to it, and you could put it out, and you can start getting some information on it. And with the help of Gen AI and all the different tools that you've been talking about, the barrier to entries have, just been demolished. So you
Yeah,
could put out something really quick right now. Maybe it's not perfect, but that's not the point. Is to get out there, start getting information, and if you get a good response, then you could start potentially adding on some other stuff, because it's not like for your website, if that was like the main focus of your business and you wanted to build that out, you wouldn't just stick with AI only forever, right?
Right.
If you needed to bring somebody on to help with copywriting or to help with the graphics, the art design, you would bring them on. It would just be later
Right.
on after it started bringing in some revenue, right?
That's right.
So, with all of that, there's a lot that is going on. What kind of advice do you give to students now, people who maybe are set to graduate soon or recently graduated? What do you tell them?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like I said, we are in the midst of a generational disruption that is unprecedented. And there may be some impact to jobs. Certainly, just like, every other creative destruction event we've seen before. However, it's the folks that figure out how to harness the power of this new technology that will thrive in this environment. And this technology is, again, this technology is not going to, at least in our lifetime, I strongly believe that it is not going to replace us, but it really will empower us. And the folks that may get left behind are the folks that are not willing to adapt, right, and not willing to learn and explore with this technology. So again, I just encourage college students, recent grads, to, if you're not able to use it, in your day-to-day work life, find ways to use it in your personal life with a side project or with a hobby, or doing something. Make it fun too. Like, generate some art, create, explore some of these automation tools and stitch together a interesting workflow that, helps you professionally or personally. Just continue to learn by doing, and try not to be afraid of it.
Yeah, I think that is very wise. We learn really well when we're just playing with something.
Yeah.
And so I've done this in my personal life, right? I'll take a picture of the family and then say, hey, make this look like a Norman Rockwell painting, stuff like that. And then you
Yeah,
could, jump off from there, or help me come up with the outline for a story for my, 7-year-old nephew, stuff like
that's right.
that. And then the other thing that I thought that you said, this was a little bit earlier on, that is absolutely spot on, is that you could ask ChatGPT or Claude or whichever one you're using, hey, how do I write a prompt for X, Y, and Z? And
Hmm.
that is a great way to learn as well. So
Yeah.
wise words, sir.
Yeah. I would say, so you mentioned outline. I really like what you said about, I asked for an outline for the story. That's a very, very clear distinction between, I asked it to write my story, right? And I'm bringing this up because really effective AI prompting breaks down the tasks into small, specific tasks, right?
Mhm.
So instead of, let's say you want to optimize your LinkedIn profile, right? Common thing people want to do. Oftentimes people will, download their profile, feed it to ChatGPT and say, help me improve my LinkedIn profile, write me a new bio, write me a new headline. Well, what if instead the first thing we ask ChatGPT is to first give it a role, saying, you are an expert social media manager with an expertise in LinkedIn profile optimization. Research what are the best tips and best practices for LinkedIn profiles and how to grow my audience on LinkedIn, right? And then it's going to go and do your research. It's going to figure out what are the best practices and the best tips to make your profile better. And then instead of coming and saying, okay, great, now we know how to make it better, this is what I currently have. Instead of asking it to do it all at once, let's focus on one piece of it. Let's focus just on my bio, or just on my headline, or just on my experience, one piece at a time versus all at once. And breaking this down piece by piece, I've found personally that I just get much better results. And then at the end, you've got all these really great fine-tuned pieces that you can then stitch together and come out with something really great.
Yeah, that is spot on as well. Breaking it down into individual pieces, and then also, how do you found like asking it for, to explain itself, like why it decided to change your bio to something else?
Yeah.
Does that help as well?
Yeah, that's a really powerful tactic. Also, just to protect against hallucination and false facts, to make sure that you see where the information is coming from, to make sure that the model is not just making it up,
Right.
right? And so, and that's obviously been a big risk, that and something that people complain about. And it is true. However, with the right prompting skills, you can really mitigate that risk of the hallucinations and the false fact finding.
Yeah, so the pipeline I would use in that situation, like if I was a student doing a research paper, I would go maybe to Perplexity and say, "Hey, I need to learn about the War of 1812. So can you give me some sources to look through?" And then I would actually look through the sources. So there's still work involved, but I
Yes.
haven't had to find or didn't have to find all the different sources.
Yeah.
Maybe I would even like pull out some specific quotes that I wanted to use, and then I would go to like ChatGPT and say, "Hey, this is the essay I need to write. Help me outline it, and give it some quotes that I wanted to use, and using the advice that you just gave, tell it, you know, t- tell it what kind of role that it should be playing. Like it's
Yeah.
a um, like a history professor or a student, and they're writing an essay on the War of 1812, and
That's
then
right.
work on it that way. And there's an iterative process that's still involved in that. You're going to go back and forth on it, and it would help you write that essay.
Yeah. And I also encourage folks to create projects inside of ChatGPT or Claude, just to maintain that context, right? As opposed to starting new chats every time.
Mhm.
I really encourage you to organize your thoughts and your chats within projects so that the model retains that context that you've built with it, right? And oftentimes you can, upload files and assets that will help enrich that context, and improve the results that you're getting. Another tool I'd recommend playing around with is Google's Notebook LM, which is really
Okay.
great, really great. It's not the best at generation, but it's really great at summarization. Um, and you are able to feed it a bunch of sources across many channels that include PDFs, YouTube's, URLs, and it does a really great job of synthesizing that information that you provided. It's really great for learning and research. It has a discovery tool, so if you give it a URL from a source or a YouTube link that from a source that you're interested on, a topic you're interested in learning, you can then use the discover tool. It'll go and find other related videos and articles related to that topic, and then you can start asking questions. Give me talking points. Give me a summary. You can even turn it into an audio form to
Mhm.
listen to it. So that's been a fun. I've been enjoying that, especially. I use it a lot for article research and outlining. I don't use it to help me write to generate the content. More about like summarizing and outlining, and then I take that outline, and then I usually will go to either ChatGPT or Claude to help me flesh out the rest of my article.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, I use it to help me write stuff.
Hmm.
But not to actually just do it. So I'll
Right.
give it a draft and say, "Hey, polish this. Maybe I'll do that." But then also I'll ask it for areas where I can make it better, and
That's
then
right.
ask it for some direction on that or some ideas on that. And then some of the times I actually follow the directions, but not always. And
Yeah.
so it is a very powerful tool.
Yeah, and ultimately, you've got to remember the things that AI struggles to do, the human things that AI struggles to do. One is of which is credibility, trust, um, connection, and taste. Taste is
Mhm.
the big one, right? In my opinion, we're a long way out before AI can have better taste than a creative director, for example, right? These types of things are really innate to the human experience, and where we are right now, and I think in the foreseeable future, generative AI won't close that gap. And so, that's another piece of advice is lean into your strengths, lean into those areas like taste, like community, like connection, like credibility, that AI, in my opinion, won't be able to replace in the near term.
Yeah, I mean that is a great point. So people are going to you as the thought leader. I mean, you specifically as the thought leader because of your thoughts, not because of what ChatGPT is putting out.
Right.
So if all you're doing is just posting, stuff that ChatGPT largely did, it's going to be kind of anodyne. It's going to be basic. It's not going to be that engaging. Plus, why would they go to you? Right? I mean, they could just go to ChatGPT and get a more specific answer to what they're looking for. So there's still that individual agency, I guess, would be the best way to put it. That is still important, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'd encourage people to check out my website, adamlevoy.com. I've got a ebook that I just published, The Practice Framework for Effective AI Prompting. It does a pretty deep dive into how to effectively communicate with large language models. It's for non-technical folks. People are, either beginners just getting started or looking to get better results, not as generic results, but it goes over a lot of the fundamentals that we talked about today, breaking things down, providing context, giving examples, giving a role, right? Telling the model what it is not only what it is you're looking for, but what it is you're not looking for, right? And so that's a good starting point.
Absolutely, yeah. So AI is making a lot of changes, and you're there to help people manage that, right?
That's right. Usher in the new age.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Adam. Really appreciate it. Is there anything else that we forgot to talk about?
No, it was great to be here. Yeah, excited. Maybe you could come back again and maybe do a workshop or something like that. Roll up our sleeves and maybe build something in real time. I think that'd be fun.
Absolutely. We'll definitely do that. Well, thank you very much, Adam.
Yeah, thank you, Travis.